In this video, I would like to invite you into a thought experiment. What if violence, the urge to harm, to fight, to destroy, is not something woven into our soul at all? What if it is something added, like a chemical dropped in clear water, an influence that arrived later, subtle, but powerful? I'm not here to make a hard claim. This is just a gentle wondering. Let's listen to the land, to science, and to that quiet inner knowing that we all carry. We've been told for generations that we are just naturally violent, red in tooth and claw. Yet archaeology whispers a different memory, or a different story. There are sites thousands of years old where people lived in peace for long stretches, villages without walls, art that celebrated fertility and community more than war. When I walk among Scotland's ancient hill forts, I sometimes sense a meeting place, more than a battlefield. It makes me wonder if what we call natural violence might really be a cultural layer laid over something much gentler. Science gives us another lens, epigenetics. Genes can switch on or off, depending on the stresses a parent or a grandparent faced: war, famine, chronic fear. So a child may inherit a hair-triggered fight or flight response without ever knowing why. What if what we call nature or natural is partly these inherited footnotes in our code, echoes of survival moments, rather than a true design for violence? Now think of the chemical weather we live in, heavy metals in war, indoctrinating, disrupting plastics, traces of pesticides and medication in the food chain. Studies link some of these to mood disorders and aggression. When I stand by the salt air of Ayrshire's coast, my whole system softens. Contrast that with a crowded city street where exhaust and noise seem to tighten every nerve. Could the chemistry of our surroundings be playing the background music of our moods? And let's widen the lens to food. What if the food of our ancestors, the builders of the pyramids, the growers of megalithic fields, was itself a kind of superfood, dense with minerals from rich, unpolluted soil? They ate grains grown in deep loam, wild greens full of trace elements, fish from pristine waters. Their bread, their mead, their honey and herbs were alive with natural enzymes and probiotics. Now place that beside much of today's diet, highly processed, long shelf life, refined sugar and additives. Even when we eat fresh, the soil is thinner, the nutrients diluted. What if this change in food chemistry is quietly shaping mood and behaviour, dulling the nutrients that calm the nervous system while feeding inflammation and agitation? Could part of the rise in everyday irritability, even violence, be the body's chemical response to food that no longer carries the minerals our ancestors took for granted? There's also the question of time itself. Much of our picture of prehistory depends on dating methods like radiocarbon C14 analysis. Carbon dating has been a remarkable scientific tool, but even scientists know it isn't perfect. Volcano eruptions, changes in Earth's magnetic field, or past spikes in cosmic radiation can alter the amount of carbon-14 in the atmosphere. If the baseline shifts, the clock can read a little fast or slow. Tree ring calibrations help correct for this, yet it helps with the corrections, yet there remains a grey zone where estimates can still vary by centuries. There are trees that actually, there's evidence that They just stop growing, you know, like for a long period of time. And like, what causes that? So what if some of the timelines we lean on so firmly are more like well-educated sketches than absolute numbers? Could certain ages of conflict or long peaceful eras be closer to us or further than we think? It doesn't mean that science is wrong. It means that the deep past may still hold surprises, inviting us to stay humble about the stories we attach to those dates. And then, layered on top of all this is technology. Constant notifications, invisible electromagnetic fields, AI infrastructures drawing immense natural resources and creating subtle, continuous vibration in the inner fields. If consciousness is truly interconnected, might these modern energies nudge us towards fight or flight without our knowing? What if the global nervous system itself is being tuned to a slightly higher tension? I mean, like, they have all kinds of like measuring units, right? You have that Schumann resonance. Some people pay attention to that. And here's a final little wondering. Well, it's not final because I'll keep on wondering for probably as long as I'm alive, right? So what if no one is consciously orchestrating this? Yet we are still part of an experiment, a living planet plus industry, right? Human industry, all feeding back on each other, altering brain, heart chemistry without a single master plan. We might be testing the chemistry of consciousness simply by existing the way that we do. And just to add something else into the mix here, what if it isn't only chance and chemistry? What if it's some force, whether human, corporate, or something far less tangible, is orchestrating aspects of this experiment with a purpose? If so, what might that purpose be? To keep us fearful, divided, so we're easily guided? Well, that's been accomplished. To harvest attention, data, or even our emotional energy? That's been accomplished. Or could it be subtler, nudging us through like a difficult spot to spark a different kind of evolution? I don't pretend to know, but noticing the possibilities invites a different kind of awareness, one that refuses easy to blame, yet stays alert to patterns and power. Perhaps violence isn't a destination, perhaps it's a distortion. Maybe the quiet revolution is to remember our original chemistry, the one tuned to cooperation and wonder. What if the most radical act is to live gently, to refuse the invitation to harm, to keep our quiet and our waters clear? As you move through your day, notice what softens you, what irritates, what sharpens you. That noticing might be the beginning of real freedom. Thank you for watching. I'm Caroline Bell Tumblety, and till next time.